on the website, I have chapters for all these topics. In addition to that, you know, Dr. Bergman, he's the most modest guy I've ever met. He never talks about himself because he is so consumed with the service to humanity that consumes every moment of his life, you know, practically. And so he never talks about himself. But did you know that this guy is the most visible chiropractor in the world because of what he's done with YouTube? He has over 1,000 videos on YouTube. Many of his videos get 1 million hits. He's an inspiration to me personally. I've really been working on my YouTube channel for the last year, and I have several clips on each one of these topics that we're talking about, so please avail yourself of that resource. So now let's talk about bioterrain analysis for a few minutes. Back in the day, there was a famous guy, Antoine Bishop. We talked about him yesterday. He was a contemporary of Louis Pasteur. He observed with his microscope these tiny little beings that he called microzymas. This was at the same exact time when Louis Pasteur was selling his germ theory of disease to the entire scientific world. Now, I don't have time to go through the details of Bishop's observation and his whole theory, but it has never been proven wrong, whereas Louis Pasteur's paradigm has been proven wrong. For any serious researcher into the areas of vaccines, germ theory, the cell theory, the origins of life, one name keeps coming up over and over: Antoine Bishop. Bishop was certainly one of the most notable scientists of the 19th century. He held 4 PhDs at the University of Lille and was chairman of several departments. At this time, scientists were taking a look for the first time into the nature of disease, the elements of life, the possibility of spontaneous generation, and the germ theory of disease. E. Douglas Hume's book, Bishop or Pasteur, thoroughly evaluates the contributions of Dr. Bishop to modern science. His theory of microzymas was displaced by Pasteur's germ theory only because the germ theory provides the rationale for the rise of the drug industry, which today predominates in academia and every form of media, even though the germ theory has been thoroughly discredited by modern science, as well as by Pasteur himself. On his deathbed, he's said to have remarked, "The germ is nothing, the terrain is everything." Bishop is one of the forgotten scientists whose work pointed mankind in a different direction from organized medicine. His microzymas theory has never been disproven. Another 50 or 75 years later, we have Gunter Line in Germany developing the idea of the dark field microscope, the phase contrast microscope, because he observed what these tiny little creatures he called endobionts. Their behavior pattern corresponded to individual disease patterns. That's all I have time for. The next guy was Gaston Naessens in Toronto, and he discovered the somatid cycle. Now, this is a scientific evolution of guys who are all on the same track, observing the same type of things with different technologies as technology went by. Stan Bynum was my teacher and mentor. He was rather the president of National Enzyme Company in the 80s and finally founded his own company in Arizona. He was the designer of the formula of the enzyme that I still use. I was his apprentice, so to speak. He took me to Asia with him 4 times. We did hundreds of these live cell tests, hundreds of these bioterrain tests, and he taught me what we were looking at, the principles of it. I have only time for a few of these. Gunter Line called it the internal milieu. The blood is the internal milieu in your body in which every cell in your body is bathed every second of your life from the moment of birth to the moment of death. The condition of that milieu determines, not influences, not affects, determines your health and longevity. So here's some pictures of before test. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Bynum came up with the before and after. Nobody who does live cell does this. You videotape the before, which we just did with 3 people, and we were trained to identify the imbalances. Here's aggregation of blood. The blood cells are supposed to be round and separate. They're supposed to be free flowing. Here is rouleau formation. What makes these blood cells stick together? Our toxic diet, our toxic lifestyle. Right. That's also the only way that the cells of your body can get oxygen, being delivered by the red cells. If these cells are all stuck together, remember, the capillaries are only 7 microns in diameter, inside diameter. That's the exact diameter of a red blood cell. How can these masses of blood be shoehorned through your capillary system? Imagine the enormous increased load that puts on the heart. So here's Bynum's chart. Some of the other things that can go wrong. This is free radical damage. We talked about free radicals. It does a specific thing to the membrane of the red cells. And when you give the antioxidant, the megahydrate, and wait 30 minutes, usually it looks like that. A lot of people have cholesterol crystals. It doesn't take 30 minutes to get cholesterol crystals, unfortunately. A few weeks, and you can get them out of the blood. This is stack of coins, rouleau formation. That's what it looks like. 7 microns, free radical damage, free radicals. Okay. These are sources of free radicals. So do you think that, even if you have a healthy lifestyle, we're still exposed to some of these? If you have a positive balance of free radicals at the end of the day, you didn't have enough antioxidants, then you have oxidative stress, tissue destruction. It's in the brain. It's everywhere. Yeah, we already said that. All this. Lipid peroxidation of membranes, destruction of the human genome, destruction of your DNA, cardiotoxicity, inactivates your enzymes. Wow. Cholesterol crystals, okay. Uric acid crystals, that's another one. Here are my 4 teachers. Now, in my YouTube videos, I explain each one of these in the particular part of the 60-day program that they influence. So please read the chapter on the website entitled The 60-Day Program, because I'm really just talking around the edges here. Yeah, there it is there. Twofold objectives are to clear the tract and clear the blood. If you clear the tract and clear the blood, in my experience, that corrects 90% of imbalances people have. Just takes 60 days. Okay, if you still have something else beyond that, we'll address that. But you adjust somebody, get them on a corrective program of chiropractic care, do the 60-day program. Actually, I just completed the 60-day program myself like a week ago. I finally go, wow, I'm telling all these people all over the world are doing it. It's time for me to do it. And it's really not that difficult. For me, the most difficult thing was like ice cream and saltines. But still, even healthy people, you don't know, because you'll start the first month, you'll go, oh, this is not too hard. I feel great. I'm taking my 7 supplements. I'm eating really clean. But all of a sudden, after the second month, you might start coughing. You might start eliminating all kind of stuff, sneezing, and really having a healing crisis. That showed me how powerful it really was, and how necessary it was, and how deep it really goes. Okay, very good. That was a long 5 minutes, but I'm grateful. Okay, so here are the components of the 60-day program. So it consists of a very simple diet, which I've talked about a little bit. You'll have to read the rest on the website, and 7 supplements. Now, Bynum told us this. He said, supplements, we want patients to be taking the minimum number of supplements possible, spending the least amount of money on supplements. In the 60-day program, we're just going to use supplements that are absolutely essential to the 2 things, clearing the tract, clearing the blood. I already talked about the enzymes. That's going to clear both, right? So read that chapter. Florobiotics. Obviously, the colon is the center of the immune system. No immune suppressed case can be resolved without first addressing the colon. It must be cleared out, it must be detoxed, and then it must be revitalized and jump-started by flooding it with the best probiotics. That was Kem Shahani, you saw his picture there. Expel is the other colon product. Patrick Flanagan's Mega Hydrate, that is the antioxidant. It's mostly hydrogen ions. There are two things I discovered after some time that are not water soluble and that the enzymes could not clear from the blood. Number one, atherosclerotic plaque. Number two, heavy metals. So we have a formula that is excellent. How you can test that out, especially you doctors in the room, you have patients who have angina. Every single time they take 3 of these capsules every single day just for a few weeks, and months-long angina will disappear. I have an extremely important chapter on my website, as long as I'm talking about the heart. Please write this down. Please read this chapter. It's called To the Heart Patient. I go through all of the heart medications. I go through the history of Lipitor, the history of the statin drugs, talk about clearing the blood. Minerals, we're all mineral deficient. Even if you have a totally clean organic diet, there's no minerals in the topsoil. We must take chelated minerals. Don't have time to talk about collagen. We'll do that next time. Here's what the website looks like. I showed you this before. Stole this from Elon Musk. Yeah, but down here is newsletter archive. That's important. Up here is the YouTube icon, and then here's the chapters. That's the majorly important entrance into the content of this website. thedoctorwithin.com, right. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, you got to look at the newsletter archive. Whoa, wow. Okay, ask me to dinner and I'll explain the healing crisis. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. That was awesome. That whirlwind, okay.